the leader. There's Scaife. What's the outcome here? Ambrose gets out in front. So with an efficient stop from SBR and the missed gear from Mark Scaife, the tables are turned in favour of the Pertec Falcon.
I think, Neil, you just encapsulated what's been happening all season so far. After we left Adelaide, since then the tables have been turning everything in favour of Marcus Ambrose. Bit of debris on turn 4 there. Somebody's left behind. The bigger picture starts to come into play. Mark Scaife, untouchable last season, unflappable, rarely made a mistake throughout the entire championship, and obviously blitzed him. Now some mistakes are starting to creep in. Here's Jason Bright, the championship leader for 2003, yet to win a race or a round.
Go, 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 go.
911 championship points, so consistent. That's the kind of stuff that'll win you the title in 2003, given the points series. And here's the guy who's second overall on the ladder with 882 points. Rusty?
Good stop by both Team Brock and Kmart. They won't get out ahead of Marcus or ahead of Mark Scaife, but 7.4 was the time from Team Brock. Interestingly, though, Stephen Richards has leapfrogged Paul Radisich in the pits.
It's shaking out now as they unfold this stop, and there's the gap between the leaders and Ambrose. Now with tyre pressures and temperatures normalised, has got a couple of car lengths margin over Mark Scaife. Fastest man on the track with Rodney Forbes on the outfield at the exit of turn 4. Mark Scaife recorded in 1 minute 9.1. Did that on lap 6, as you can see from the graphic.
Jason Bright, when he was at Stone Brothers Racing, obviously in the Ford in 1999, he gave SBR their first championship round win here at Hidden Valley. That's Mark Noske going off-road.
Typical time loss in a pit stop here. It's about 45 seconds from your departure from your normal lap speed time profile to where you rejoin your normal lap speed time profile. The really good stops last year were in the high 30s, but on average it was about 44, 45. It's Mark Noske looping the AU Falcon around at turn 1. A lot of fires in this area over the course of the weekend, Matthew, because of the amount of flame that spits from the exhausts, which are often turned down at the exhaust tip end in order to reduce noise. And we had a lot of incidents where practice and qualifying was actually halted with a red flag, according to the fire marshals.
Well, about 6 or 7 spot fires, if you like, throughout the qualifying sessions, but they've been up there with whippersnippers, a little bit of back burning. Hopefully no interruptions today. We are on lap 8 of 35 at the Valley. By the way, if you're doing a little bit of a form guide, since we've been here at 98, went this way. Holden, Ford, Holden, Ford, Holden. Who will stand on top of the podium at the end of the day? Lap 9 of 35. We'll take a break from the top end, come back shortly. It's a resumption of play in the heavyweight battle of the V8 Supercar Championship. The blue corner, Marcus Ambrose. In the red, Mark Scaife. On corrected positions, these guys are 1 and 2 in the race. 3 cars in front of them yet to pit. Dean Canto, Craig Baird and Stephen Ellery. So from 4th onwards, you've got the guys who have pitted. Murphy there in 7th. Corrected, that puts him 4th.
Ooh, Scaife locked the brake on the way into 5 then. Here's a bit of aggravation. Locked rear brakes for Russell Ingall on the way into turn 1 as he tried to go underneath Anthony Tratt. Made a mistake. Greg Ritter went with him. So it's not been a good weekend for Russell Ingall. Here's the replay. And it was as a result of being on the dirty side of the racetrack. And then right at the very end of the stop, when the temperature grows in the rear brakes, they've locked up and off he's gone. And you can imagine the words.
Help.
And here's a replay of Greg Ritter again, and this time it's Dumbrell on the outside, just trying to take avoiding action there. Now Scaife was really getting close to the back of Ambrose in the last couple of laps, and in particular under brakes, but that little mistake up in the valley has cost him a little bit there. What he can't afford to do is to just drive the car outside the box, put a little flat spot on a tyre, or just take himself off the road ever so slightly, because even though he'll be trying to knuckle down at the moment, he will be frustrated about the fact that he gave track position back to Marcus after such a ripper start.
Get your thoughts on this part of the circuit exactly. They come out of turn 5, they go through this kind of weird little kink that is turn 6, 7, and then a lot of violent bumps on the road.
There's some bumps, there's a surface change and an unusual corner radius, and then the same when you come up here to turn 8. There are bumps on the approach, and 8, 9, 10, very unusual in the way they're shaped. Turn 10, the one that Mark's at the moment. And they've shifted the tyres closer to the apex for this year in order to change the radius and the way in which the guys exit the corner. But very unusual corner. Very easy to lock up an unweighted front tyre up on the top part of the circuit, leave a nasty flat spot on there. 270 km/h approach to turn 1. It's a 3.5 diff, and on the good laps, they're right on the 7,500 RPM rev limit. A lot of lock required to get through 1. He's actually using second gear down there, all the way up to 5th. There's the bump, little kickback in the steering wheel on the way to turn 4. Actually, let's just go quiet for a moment and have a listen to the HRT car at full tilt.
Nasty bump in turn 10 that Leo was mentioning, right at the braking point too.
Watch Forbes in front of you, mate. Watch Forbes.
And a warning for Marcus Ambrose to look out for car 7. Stephen Ellery is the only one yet to pit. When he does so, we'll have a fully corrected race order. Ambrose pulls away from car 7. Mark Scaife is now stuck behind Rodney Forbes as they go up through 3 and 4.
Cleanly underneath him. But he has lost a little bit of ground to Marcus, only tiny, but at the top of the show we mentioned the fact that these guys are measuring their difference in performance in the order of tiny fractions. It's got down to such a narrow margin. So every little element of the car is critical in the setup.
Get an update from pit lane. Rusty, Greg.
Matty, just observing a couple of stops earlier on and how crucial it is to have a nice, slick stop and how valuable it can be to you in terms of track position. David Bernard came in behind Mark Larkham. Larkham had a problem with the left front. The crew took 13 seconds to do that stop, but in the process, Bernard leapfrogged him. And also, too, a bit of radio chat between Kim Jones and his brother Brad. It sounds as though car 21, the Aussie Male Ford, has a damaged or broken header right now.
Well, Paul Radicic was definitely one of the losers out of those pit stops as well. He lost about 5 positions. The trouble was a jammed rear right-hand wheel nut. And I notice now HRT have a left front wheel out for Todd Kelly, so possibly a flat spot there.
Stephen Johnson is another who is yet to pit. Remember, he did have to come in, but it was before the pit window opened. Here's Todd Kelly coming back in. It'll be interesting to see what dramas Todd Kelly has. Darryl might be able to understand that.
The suggestion from Greg was the flat spot.
Yeah.
It's not showing on our timing monitor at the moment. Darryl.
The team just pulled that. Yeah, it's got a big flat spot on the bottom of the tyre, really big right through the carcass, Neil, so it's a good one.
Yeah, you can't afford to press on with that and try and get away with it. It's obviously very dangerous. Greg Murphy found himself at the eye of the storm again yesterday.
20 laps to go.
And he's currently in 5th position. 1 minute 9.4 has been his fastest lap. It was a 10 flat on that last lap, and he's trying to hunt down Jason Bright in the VX Commodore.
Murph's coming off his best round of the season as we take a look at Garth Tander's approach to turn 1. Greg Murphy left WA with a smile on his dial, 2nd overall and a race win. It bumped him 3 places up the championship. So he's now 4th on the ladder. Garth Tander, sort of out there on his own at the moment. He's in 5th position corrected. He's coming off a 5th placing as well, WA. 2-time runner-up on this circuit in 1999 and 2000. They've had their trouble since then at Gary Rogers Motorsport. Jamie Whincup into the fray. One of the youngsters out there. I'll have a word to say or two about Dean Canto as well, who's really under the pump here. He's effectively been put on notice by Briggs Motorsport that he's got to perform here. Otherwise, he may be looking for another drive somewhere. And you'll see him down the order. Car number 66 in 16th position, 30 seconds back. He finished race 1, 18th, Dean Canto. First round here at Hidden Valley. So Stephen Ellery comes in.
He was actually leading the race and now taking the stop late. Drop him a long way down the order. As I said before, he'll drop the best part of 40-odd seconds to go through this process. Slot him back in the field a fair way down the order. This is the brand new car driven by Stephen Richards. I said earlier that he got off to a strong start early in the weekend. He was 4th quickest in the first practice Friday afternoon, 3rd fastest in the second practice session on Saturday morning. But then come qualifying time, they put brand new tyres on it, expected it to go like a blur, and ended up 16th. So it didn't respond to new tyres at all. Expected to see a time in the mid-8s out of the car, and discovered that really needed to alter the setup in order to get the car. Not a lot of room on the exit there for Stephen, with Jason Richards out wide. But he's just gradually been clawing back ground since that point in time, and that's really been the characteristic of his championship this year, Matthew. It's just been consistent. This man here, Simon Wills, was really quick in the warm-up this morning. He was 4th fastest, and they found again overnight, just raking through data, and they made a change to the car this morning, and it worked. And they were making another little change just prior to the car going out, literally only minutes before it went onto the grid. Look at that set of numbers there. Air temp 32, track temp 37, and the average cabin temperature at the moment is 45. Fairly hot day in the office.
One of the big movers out there is Max Wilson, up 13 positions. Glenn Seaton. Oh, and David Bernard, a chain reaction. At the front of that is Craig Baird, wide is Ellery. Yeah, and Ellery, for some reason, had a problem going in there and kind of backed it up, and that meant that Baird had to get on the brakes, and then Glenn had nowhere to go. It's kind of, it was a Friday afternoon traffic accident, wasn't it? Peak hour. Here's Paul Radicic. What a great performance. He's really chipping away. You were mentioning just before there, Stephen Richards really chipping away. This guy has been averaging in qualifying 24th position, but in terms of rounds, he's averaging 10th position. And it's no wonder that he's beginning a climb up the championship ladder. He's now up to 8th after race 1 yesterday. Let's get down to Rusty and see what's happening with Mark Larkham, Greg.
Well, Matty, the Alcorn Ford has come in. They're a bit puzzled, the team. They don't know whether it's a plug lead problem, but it's developed a miss of some sort, and he's struggling to get out pit lane here. Hasn't been a good weekend for those guys. They ended up having to start rear of grid with both cars for the first race yesterday afternoon after an infringement with the engine control units, or the ECUs in that car, or those cars, I should say. And so their qualifying times were stripped, and they had to start up the back. Darryl, what can you tell us about the Todd Kelly tyre situation?
Well, obviously, now you can see where it's worn right through here in the belt as well, but I just spoke to the boys from Dunlop, and they said the track temperature now is on the rise. It's risen 5 degrees since the start of the race. It's now up to 42 degrees, and these tyres, you can feel the temperature, how hot it is. You can barely touch it, are running about 85 right now.
It's not a flat spot, it's a crocodile bite.
Go off here, you'll probably get one. He's down in 30th position at the moment, Todd Kelly, so right back, and it's kind of been that kind of year for him as well. No results at Eastern Creek or Winton. But he is 13th in the championship. A big fire going on in the distance there. Marcus Ambrose is our race leader, 1.5 seconds clear of Mark Scaife at the moment, and Jason Bright. So it's kind of business as usual at the front of the grid. It's a hot one. Can Stone Brothers Racing continue to hold on to this awesome record that they've got at the Valley? They've had so much good fortune here throughout different drivers, and at the moment Marcus Ambrose has them on target for more success. Back after this. We're back at the Valley, and that part of the circuit, by the way, is literally the Valley. Turn 5, Jason Bright versus Greg Murphy in this battle on the road for 3rd and 4th position. And Bright is effectively the Valley man of this series. Had his maiden championship win here in '99, 4 starts for a round win and 2 second placings, 2 pole positions and 2 race wins. And at the moment, he's got a handful of Greg Murphy.
A lot of garbage on the windscreen there on Murphy's car, which is interesting. I don't know where he would have picked all that up, but it looked pretty grotty, little streaks all over it. So either someone's flicked a bit of water or oil out somewhere. Incidentally, Lowndes has come in and taken his compulsory stop, and that was his second stop because they black flagged him when the bumper was hanging off that car earlier. So he's languishing down at the bottom of the order at the moment. Last lap for both these two guys, 10.6 and 10.7 respectively. So real intense, but no one can lay a glove on Ambrose and Scaife for pace at the moment. They're a good 2 or 3 tenths, if not more, quicker on average per lap compared to everybody else. Murphy sort of thought about it then, but just didn't really have track position. Wasn't far enough up the inside, and it's a bit of diminishing return there because the bump upsets the car sufficiently on the approach to 4, and the dirty side of the road doesn't do you any favours. So if you do actually get too adventurous there, you're more likely to meet with Mr. B pillar than you are with making a good clean pass.
So Stephen Johnson now comes in. And this will be for his compulsory tyre stop. Remember, he had to come in just before the window opened for the damage. And with the pit window closing at the end of 24, he's run out of time.
In these relatively short races, Matthew, once you've been into that pit lane twice, it's game, set, match. Just don't recover from it, unfortunately. So there was a puncture or some sort of damage on the left rear of Stephen's car, probably as a result of that stuff that happened at turn 5 in the opening lap, and it's put him out of business. Murphy continues to just hammer the back of Bright, and that's actually inviting Garth Tander to the party at the moment. He's getting closer and closer all the time. Oh, again, Murphy having a look. Oh, he's giving him a little touch-up as well. And he's flicked the lights on. You can see the reflection of the headlights in the rear of the number 50 car. The boys are all just starting to wind the preload up on each other here.
You had that snigger then. You know exactly what's going to happen if it keeps going that way, don't you?
Well, what it is, it's like a little delivery of your business card. It's like, hello, this is who I am, and this is where I am, in case you've forgotten. And then if you've got that little bit of extra pace, you can keep rattling away a bit on the back of the other guy.
Rusty?
Well, you talk about guys being taken out of the game by dramas in pit lane. I can't quite figure out why yet. I'm having a look at the tyres that have just come off Jason Richards' car, but he has had 2 stops in this one for tyres.
Yeah, well, he also was involved in that turn 5 thing on the opening lap, and I wouldn't mind betting because he lunged up the inside that he flat spotted a front left on the way in there, and that would have brought him in. I'd be curious to know how Todd Kelly put such a monster on his car, because that was probably, I imagine, looking at the size of it going into turn 1 braking area. This is a great bit of road through here, Matthew. Turns 2 and 3, big wallop in the road there, but the car speed on the way in is fantastic. It's a really exciting ride, about 215 Ks. 90 odd Ks through turn 4, back up to 160 Ks here before you're braking. Oh, Tander up the inside, he's done it. Murph was thinking about Bridie, and then he left the gap hugely wide for Tander, who just went straight down the inside, nailed him and did it. There was contact, but he was well up the inside, and I don't think Murphy realised that he was as close or he was as vulnerable as in fact he was.
Caught napping Greg Murphy, and Garth Tander took advantage with a big don't argue. Craig Lowndes has looped on the rear of that. He's out of play.
Yes, he's 30th, in fact, at the moment.
But what about the instant fight back from Greg Murphy as soon as he saw Tander? Watch this. So these two go in there. Tander comes in and says, forget about him, I'm coming through.
Yeah, I don't reckon Greg thought that Garth was as close as he was, and he just left it wide open for him. And what's Kiwi for Darnett?
Ambrose leads, Scaife is second, Bright is third, Garth Tander now is fourth, and Greg Murphy shuffles back to fifth. Stephen Richards appears to be a long way back on that shot that we just had there. He's sixth. In between him on the road, as we mentioned, is a back marker in Craig Lowndes. Tander fourth in race 1. He's been averaging 11th overall for each round in the series, and that's exactly where he is on the championship ladder.
Here's the gap first to second. It's now out to 1.6 seconds, so it's looking as though Marcus has got this one bagged up, mistakes notwithstanding, and they're coming up onto the back of Todd Kelly and Rodney Forbes again, wasn't it?
those last 2 laps. You can see there in the right hand of the side of the screen, lap 24 and 25 shows that Schaefer's got a 1/10 of a second better than Ambrose. May have been as a result of some back market traffic. Look at this freight train.
This is Ingle in here, Cito's in there as well, 18 and 19. There's a whole bunch of them, but some of them are out of position as well, which confuses the order a bit.
Stephen Richards is in 6th position. Paul Dumbrell is in 25th position. Their team boss, Larry Perkins, is with Darryl Beattie. Darryl?
Larry, difficult qualifying session, you could say, for the new car, but how's 6th position so far?
Well, you know, it's the same old story, isn't it? Your car never goes as fast as you want it to, and Stephen didn't get the qualifying time that he would have liked, but he's recovered really well from his 17th spot. He's now running 6th, so I'm very happy with that, and he's keeping his nose clean. But, you know, it's still a few laps to go, and, you know, we just got to live with the speed we've got and get on with it.
Are you able, do you think, to make many changes between races?
Well, we were disappointed to not be as fast as we wanted. The car didn't go as fast as it should have on the new tyres. But look, that's things that we're going to deal with. You know, the main thing is he's still pressed on, and he's getting up the right end. As I say, he's up to 6th from a disastrous practice time, and 1 more race to go. But look, it's still only 1 round in a long championship.
Paul's back in 24th. He's had a few dramas during the race. Paul Dumbrell.
Well, yeah, Paul has been unfortunately caught in other people's problems, and so he hasn't done anything wrong himself, except it has put him back a few more spots than he should have been. But look, it's not the end of the world. When you're past 15th to 20th, it doesn't really matter. You just got to keep your nose clean.
Thanks, Larry.
And after yesterday's race, the championship standings have Stephen Richards 2nd with 882 points. Jason Bright still championship leader with 911. So, as Larry suggested, keeping your nose clean and just lurking around there in 6th position is actually a handy thing for Stephen Richards, because the way the points weighting has been done this year, that still puts him totally in touch with where he wants to be in the championship. Meanwhile, Garth Tander, folks, has actually got by as Anthony Tratt plucks his helmet off, and Tander's got by Bright. Oh, look at Ingle, got the rear brakes all locked here. This could end in tears. Max Wilson is not an easy guy to pass at the best of times. He's a fierce little racer, and he's got himself well covered in here. Bernard's thumping into the back of Ingle as well as they go into turn 5.
This is a battle for 18th and 19th.
They had a lot of damage on the Ingle car last night. They actually finished at 11 o'clock though, so relative to late night motor racing disasters, it wasn't too bad, but the damage for them was the fact that they lost those 4 race tyres before they'd even negotiated the first corner. Only 10 tyres allocated this weekend, so 2.5 sets. And Matthew, you've got a balance sheet, I noticed there. You're doing some part-time accounting, are you?
Well, it all sounds very good, but gee, if you're the team boss at Stone Brothers Racing, it's really ugly. This is what's been spent on repairs for Russell's car since the start of 2003, and trouble for Mark Larkham again. Time and again, he's found himself in trouble at turn 1. He was caught wide. Look at the flame coming out there. And now you know why so many grass fires, but they've chopped all that back down. So Larkham spears off again. Just got some numbers. I'll race through them quickly. Adelaide, 40 grand. Phillip Island, 50 grand. Eastern Creek, 15. Perth, 20 grand. Darwin, 15,000 man hours at around 100 grand. That's a grand total of around $240,000 worth of repair jobs on the car that we're sitting in currently.
Russell would have shouted it.
Yeah.
He would have dipped into that extensive bank account.
Gee, I have Ross and Jimmy Stone weren't listening to that $250,000 gone, but Russell Ingle, the enforcer, is fighting. We know that for sure. He'll never give up, and he continues to tap the Brazilian Max Wilson in the rear on lap 29. Oh, 35. We'll take a break. It appears as though Marcus Ambrose has got this wrapped up. Come back and join us after this in the Valley. Welcome back. The BA brawl between Ingle and Wilson is now officially over, and Russell Ingle has taken the points. But Jamie Whincup has found the dirt and maybe the tyre wall.
That's on the exit of turn 8. Awkward spot to go in there, but don't go too far back, Jamie.
Awkward spot to get out of too. John Bowe had a couple of good trips throughout there in 2002.
Oh, he's just got in there too hot, got over the ripple strip.
Oh, I don't know. He clouded the issue for us. Now, this is what happened with Ingle. Remember when we left you, they were tapping on each other's doors, and Ingle just did the big switchback and got him. That only happened just as we came back.
Well, Max drove so defensively. He drove right down the inside and just made his corner speed. His mid-corner speed was appallingly slow, and then Bezzy gets him as well. And I think Craig Baird buys into it. So Max just actually, he triggered that himself by being so shallow on the way into four. It just made him so slow through there. And then the angry pack have just eaten him alive. Safety car is going to be deployed. Yellow flag is out. So there must be an issue.
There's 4 laps to go, Russell. 4 to go.
Somewhere around the circuit that the race director's uncomfortable with. Order at the moment: Ambrose, Scaife, Tander, Bright, Murphy. And is this
Still Jamie trying to come back, so he obviously did collect the tyre wall in the end of all that.
Big time. She's got about 45 degrees of camber on the front right.
Safety car's out. Jamie Whincup's doing his level best to get it back into the pit lane. And that will mean that we're going to have about a 4-lap dash. Look at this. Oh. That's a sick and sorry beast. It's not going where he wants it to go because he wants to go the exact opposite way.
Tony got no steering.
The 20-year-old Victorian in his first V8 Supercar season, making his Darwin debut here. And with his teammate Gar Tander, they've deployed the new cool suit for this round at keeping the temperature down. So the safety car is letting the field go past to pick up the leader. And there it is, Marcus Ambrose.
It looked as though he did it on his own as well. I'm a bit puzzled as to why we've got a safety car at this point. Greg.
I'm down here with Gary Rogers, Neil. You're doing a few Hail Marys before the start of the race, but the bloke upstairs hasn't been too kind to you.
I believe in that big fella upstairs. He's helped us a lot.
What happened as far as Jamie's concerned? Have you spoken to him on the radio?
I haven't spoken to him. He just got on the radio and said there was no steering, but I'd say that happened when he hit the bank. I think he's just had a lose. He's young, he's impetuous, he's having a bit of a go, and you hate it, but it's going to happen from time to time.
Quickly, the weekend didn't start too well for Garth, but going exceptionally well at the moment.
We've been working hard on the new car, and I mean, you know, it's just disappointing when you put the time and the result doesn't come, but look, we're heading in the right direction. I'm sure we'll get back where we were.
Cheers, Gary.
Thanks, Greg.
So Gary Rogers and Jamie Whincup have a sit-down chat about what happened there. Whincup is out of the race. His best performance of the year in his first year came in his first round, 22nd at Adelaide for the Formula 4 champ for last year.
I'm assuming that this safety car has been deployed because of car 33, but it was deployed before 33 even came to its resting position. So unless there was some other issue around the track somewhere, but Marcus Ambrose, I can tell you, is none too impressed. He's exploded on the radio because he had a very, very healthy margin, which has all but evaporated. Now, I have had it confirmed that the safety car has been deployed just for car number 33, so it's a little bit of a strange one, that one.
At the end of all that, like I said, we're headed for another 3 or 4 lap dash. Greg Ross.
3 laps to go, Marcus.
Rusty, are you with us?
Just having spoken to a few of the team managers, Matthew, it does seem as though it's only the Whincup incident that has brought out this safety car. Now, another issue which is raised in drivers' briefings, team managers' briefings, etc. in the build-up to this event is restarts from a safety car because we have such a long straight here at Hidden Valley. Very important not to overlap or overtake a car until you get to that start-finish line. We have seen dramas before.
Daryl's just been having a chat to Ross Stone. What do you got, Daryl?
Yeah, I just spoke to Ross. I said, was it just stopped because of Whincup? He said, no, apparently there was a tyre on the side of the track from that shunt when he hit the wall.
Okay, well, it's all in this man's hands. Marcus Ambrose, as Jamie Whincup surveys the damage. Gary Rogers got a huge rap on this guy. I mentioned he's only young, 20 years old. I've already raised the point that another 20-year-old in the field, or 22-year-old Dean Canto under pressure. Paul Dumbrell still trying to find his feet. It's a big game and it's a tough one.
Sorry, Matthew, I just was away from the game here for a minute, but I think I've just had it confirmed, you may have mentioned this, that there was a tyre on the circuit. Yeah.
Daryl had that confirmed by Ross Stone.
So that was the issue there.
Mark Scaife.
Don't forget tonight we've got Formula One, folks. It's going to be a late night, but the European Grand Prix from the Nürburgring will be on Network 10 Motorsport after the movie, and Kimi Räikkönen has pole position, his first ever pole position. And it's astonishingly close. There's just 3 drivers separated by 1/10 of a second. There they are, pole to Kimi, Michael Schumacher alongside him, Ralf Schumacher. So a great mix of chassis and engines and tyres. Montoya is 4th, Barrichello 5th, Jarno Trulli is 6th, Olivier Panis 7th. He was actually fastest for 2 of the sessions so far up at the European Grand Prix. And so Toyota are well in the game after some extensive testing in the last couple of weeks. And there's Jeff Grech just taking a look at what's going on. Jim Stone from Stone Brothers Racing. This is going to be a frantic blast to the end. Greg?
Well, I'm back with Gary Rogers. You're a little concerned that this may finish under safety car.
Well, I think it probably will, Greg, and I mean, it's a shame. You know, the people come to see a spectacle, and a race really needs to be that. There's safety issues. I personally think our car could be left where it is, but even if they take it off the track, there should be a rule where you have to race minimum maybe 5 clear laps to the flag on a circuit this size. NASCAR's got the rule. It's a sensible rule. It's good for the crowd, it's good for the TV, and in particular good for the sponsors to spend their money.
Thanks, Gary. Kim Jones also prowling. Look at the team managers. They're all wearing a very concerned look. So this is the problem. Jamie Whincup's car is parked down the main straight.
Yeah, it's...
You can see that's the rear of the grid. He wanted to go right and dip into pit lane, but he couldn't get in there without
pit
the
lane
steering.
entry is there on the right-hand side, but he couldn't get in there because of the lack of steering control, so he's had to come across to the dead side of the track.
Now, assuming that they do get a restart underway, on the road, Ambrose, and then Todd Kelly is behind him and in front of Mark Scaife. So, on the radio chat that we've been listening to, we understand that Toddler has been informed by the bosses. Let Mark through. He's in a better race position. Maybe Jeff Grech can expand on that with Darryl.
Jeff, they haven't got that car off just yet, and there's a possibility it could finish under the safety car. What do you think of that rule?
Well, I'm surprised that it's on the truck now. I mean, for the sake of all the fans, not that the positions would probably change, but it'd be nice to have at least a 1-lap sprint at the end. But you know, I mean, I'm not the judge of fact, but certainly it'll be. No, their lights are out. I'm just hearing. So she's on.
Thanks, mate.
She's on, all right. 1 lap. A race to the end.
It's that particular spot on the road, a race car would never go over there, so I tend to agree with Gary. I don't think it was really at any point in time.
Oh, geez, take a look at this.
About?
That is farcical. They were going to come round and do a 1-lap dash.
That's all a bit silly. Further back in that field, the midfielders had to stop at turn 10.
Well, everybody's had to stop, but now they've had to rev it up again, so it is on. 1 lap, 1 to go.
Well,
Todd Kelly pulls aside and lets Scaife go through. Marcus Ambrose has got a lot of distance between him and the next red car. A 2.9 kilometre circuit.
I tell you
race is what it's come down to.
They'll be taking tickets at race control for this one because there'll be a queue of every team manager in the place there. There'll be 20 blokes marching down there after this race. That is a joke way to start a motor race.
Not to mention finish one, Neil. Marcus Ambrose through turn 4. The order is Ambrose, Scaife, Tander, Bright, Greg Murphy. That makes up your top 5. Todd Kelly's in that picture there, but he's out of the game. All of these guys caught up as back markers. It appears as though the battle is back on between Jason Bright and Greg Murphy.
Due to be some unhappy people with that because what you saw in the background of that shot in this race is just going to stay as it is now in these top spots, but there were people that were sort of spread-eagled and stopped at the top of the circuit, you know, literally, and the rule is that you've got to go down to the start line single file, so people have had to duck left and right. Anyway,
whatever the result, you get them any way you can, and after 2 races here at Hidden Valley, it's all square. Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife are tied.
Thanks, guys. Fantastic job.
In race wins.
Very good, mate. We're making good progress there.
And in championship points. 126 points each now for Ambrose and Scaife. Scaife finishes 2nd after winning race 1 yesterday. And Garth Tander gets himself into 3rd position. It was a good one for Marcus Ambrose. He made the move when Scaife made a little bit of an error. coming around turn 10 early on in the race, but when it all came down to it at the very end, oh, geez, it was a fizzer. Still, as I mentioned, you get him any way you can. Ambrose wins. Skate, second. Tander, third. 2 Fords in the top 8. The rest of the General's men. Another good performance from Paul Radisich. Simon Wills and John Bower hold on to their top 10 positions. Paul Wheel has been consistent throughout the year. With 1 race to go, can he push himself further up into a top 10 finish? 35 laps to go. Another 100 kilometres. We'll come back after this and decipher all that, see who's angry, who's not. But Marcus Ambrose is happy. He's got the race win under his belt. Back after this with more.
This is another Snickers satisfying moment.
And Mark Scaife will go back-to-back at Bathurst.
My most satisfying moment in V8 Supercar would be Bathurst in 2002. It was just an extraordinary race.
Well, look at Scaife, takes aim straight away at the restart.
That race, as Australia's biggest race, with my mate from 10 years ago, as Jim Richards, was just was an unbelievable day.
Mark Scaife and Jim
We had a great friendship, and certainly to do that together was unbelievable. It was a funny race because there was a lot of guys in contention to win, and we actually ended up being able to pass his son, quite late in the race, which probably for the Richards family was a bit of a difficult one. But for Jimmy and I to win that race together again, it's just one of those things that you can't explain.
That was another Snickers satisfying moment.
A fair bit has changed since that satisfying moment for Mark Scaife. Now the man most satisfied for obvious reasons is Marcus Ambrose. Let's recap the finishing order from race 2. Ambrose first, Scaife second, Garth Tander third, Bright and Greg Murphy rounding out the top 5. The guys that we've highlighted, Dean Canto moved up from 18th to 12th. Russell Ingall started at the rear of the grid at 33rd and finished 17th, and poor old Stephen Johnson went backwards from 13th down to 29th. It was a controversial race, but a good one for Garth Tander. That's his best race finish of the year. He's with Daryl Beattie.
Garth, good drive. You had a good battle with Murph there at the end as well.
Yeah, the car was looking after his tyres really well. We probably stayed out 2 or 3 laps too long at the start and lost a lot of track position, but sort of got out on the good tyres and just put in a couple of quick laps, and I managed to catch Bridie and Murph and then slip through on the both of them. But an interesting race. The last lap was pretty full on. We had tow trucks and yellow flags and all sorts of gear going on. So, yeah, interesting.
What did you think of that restart? Too quick?
Oh, it was ridiculous. There was a truck on the... We had to swerve around a truck that was on the track. There were still yellow flags at the starter's box, yellow flags all the way through turn 1. It's just ridiculous.
Got any changes for the car for the next race?
Yeah, we still like to make it a little bit better, so we'll change a few small things, but generally the package is pretty good. We just get a good start, put the right strategy together, and hopefully run with the front two.
Thanks, Garth.
Thanks, mate.
So after 2 races, there are 2 men tied on points for the overall championship round. Mark Scaife, the winner of race 1. Marcus Ambrose, the winner of race 2. And as we said, the 26-year-old Devil racer has history on his mind. He's with Greg Rust.
Matty, we've briefly escaped the searing Darwin heat. We're here in the Stone Brothers racing truck. Bit of a history lesson. 1977, Ford won 4 rounds in a row. That was Alan Moffat. It's been a long time since that happened. Potentially, you could do it today. Do you think about that?
Yeah, it's very much on my mind right now. I've really got to focus on trying to get a good start this next race, and if we can get 4 out of 4, it'd be great for Ford and for me personally too, because it's probably the first big record that I've achieved. You look at Mark Scaife as well, and he got 5 in a row last year, so that's probably the goal that I'm really looking for.
You were only a little tacker when Alan Moffat achieved that 1-year-old. What are the career ambitions for you? I mean, would you like to emulate the greats? Where is Marcus Ambrose going, big picture?
I don't know. I'm pretty confident that I've committed myself to 5 years down here to make sure that I'm giving my best shot to win the championship, and I'm really happy with the Stones. My first year in V8s was a boom or bust. I really wanted to make an impression and see if I could make a career out of the sport. it's happened, and we've now progressed to a level where we can really settle down and be responsible on the track and really try to put a championship run together. So the next 5 years, guaranteed, I'll be down here giving it my best shot. But I've always said to Ross Stone and the guys around me, if the enjoyment stops, I'll stop. And there's a lot of sacrifice to go motor racing at the top level. You've got to really be very committed and sacrifice a lot of things. And really, you know, for that sacrifice, you've got to love what you're doing, and I do. But, you know, if the demands and pressures and things get too much and the enjoyment goes, then I'll probably have a sabbatical for a while.
Well, let's talk more about that pressure then, because there's a lot of corporate pressure from Ford's point of view. How much do Ford want this 4-round wins, and what sort of effect does that have on you?
Yeah, there is pressure there, definitely, and from every angle, from SBR, from Pertec, from all the people that are invested in this motorsport program. And, you've got to deliver, and it takes a huge commitment, like I said. And, you know, if the enjoyment goes away and the passion goes away, you can't get the results. And so, you know, I don't want to go out on a losing streak. You know, I want to go out doing the best job I possibly can. And that's it. You know, as a professional driver, there are lots of pressures from every angle, and you've got to absorb those, and really self-control is a very difficult thing, and you've got to be very self-controlled in this game, not just on the track, but off the track too.
That's how you seem to, I guess, deal with the pressure and the controversy at times that happens in motor racing. The points are deadlocked coming into this final race between you and Mark Skaife. What have you got to do to win the round?
You've got to be really calm and focus on your starts and the pit stops, and try and keep Mark under pressure. If we're pretty much toe for toe, and the last race was really tough. You know, it was a real dogfight there for a long time, very equal in speed. So, you know, the smartest guy's going to win, I think, and Mark's a great competitor. I just really enjoyed racing with Mark because we're clean, but we're aggressive, and we're really on the edge the whole time, and basically it's going to be the smartest guy and the bravest guy, and great pit work too. You know, let's not forget about the crew.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, there was a recurring theme there in that interview, and it was the word pressure. It really started to build for Marcos Ambrose at the end of 2002 when he won the last round. He's carried that form through, obviously, into this year, and maybe the pressure is starting to show on Mark Skaife, because one mistake is all it takes.
Mark, you got away to the perfect start, and do you have a little slip up where Marcus got you early in the race?
Yeah, I missed a gear down, a bloody dickhead. Just come onto the straight, and normally it's quite a short change. Second to third gear change. I just balked it. It just balked at first, and by the time I got third, over, so very average performance.
It's so difficult though, you know, there's nothing in these cars at the moment, and something like that can just lose you the race.
Yeah, look, I think if we're in the lead, you know, you don't use your tyres as hard when you're in the lead, so I think if you're in the lead, you probably have the opposite result. But and as we showed yesterday, when the car was very good, so yeah, I mean, we just got to get ourselves organised. We changed a couple of little things then, probably hurt a little bit, so we'll change it back.
All the best for the next one.
Thanks, mate.
All right, so the scene is this. There is one more race to go, 35 laps, 100 kilometres. Skaife is going for his first round win in 5 rounds. Marcos Ambrose is going for 4 straight championship victories. We'll be gritting up right after the break here at Hidden Valley on your home of motorsport, Network 10.
One of the major issues when teams in particular that come from the southern states head up to Darwin and race at Hidden Valley is temperature. Now, you don't really even need to look at the forecast. It's always going to be 30 or more degrees here in terms of air temperature. And we know as a general rule of thumb that inside the cabin, it's at least another 20 degrees hotter. So when you're talking about a 50-degree cockpit temperature in these race cars, it's very uncomfortable. Now, various teams have come up with various solutions to keep their drivers cool. There are cool suits, ventilated helmets. Here at Aussie Mail Racing, they've gone for a fairly simple solution. Just stick the driver's helmet in the fridge. Now, when Bradley or John stick their helmets on initially, they feel fantastic. It only lasts for a couple of laps in terms of benefit, but at least they feel good, and every little bit counts.
They'll do anything to keep cool, won't they? Those donuts look pretty good in there. I'd hate to see Bradley Jones get a donut mixed up for his helmet. There's a look. Marcos Ambrose will start from pole position for the third and final race alongside Skaife. What a battle. Garth Tander versus Jason Bright on the second row of the grid. Murphy and Richards, positions 5 and 6. Rick Kelly and Paul Radisic, who continues to put in some good moves. I mentioned to you Dean Canto, really under the pump. Looks as though he's answering back to his team boss, John Briggs, at Team Better Electrical. Jason Bargwanna is putting in a solid performance for Orcon Racing while things don't really go to plan for his team boss, Mark Larkham, and his teammate Glenn Seaton down there. Russell Ingall will start from 17th on the grid. He made up 8 positions in the first lap of race 2, but then he threw them all away towards the end. Max Wilson involved in a fairly heavy dice mid-race. Jones, Dumbrell, Morris and Todd Kelly take us down to 24, from 25 through to 28. Well, look at that. Craig Lowndes is sandwiched all the way back in 27th position. You talk about luck, nothing's gone his way. Jamie Whincup failed to finish in race 2, and Anthony Trapp will start from the very rear of the grid. Focus on Craig Lowndes. All trouble for Paul Morris. Greg Rust.
Yeah, I can tell you, Matty, that the team here have worked frantically in between the last race and this one. A full engine and gearbox change. Paul Sepranich at the front of the car, directing Paul out now into pit lane, but he will start this one from the pits.
All right, mate, thank you. So that makes 32 on the grid, 1 in pit lane. And Paul Morris labours his way up to his starting position.
As usual, there was a bit of hard work on between the heats as we look at Marcus Ambrose. Pretty happy with his car, and to some extent had one of the easiest passes he'll ever have to deal with Scafie missing that gear. Garth Tander's car was, in his words, just perfect. He didn't touch anything, but they did change the gearbox. He said it was notchy going into 4th gear.
I had a chat to both Mark Scaife and Marcus Ambrose just before we got this race underway. Said to both of them, tell me about your start plan. Marcus said to me, I'm calm. I don't do anything until the lights go. I don't focus on anything until I'm in 2nd gear. Then I have a look around. Scafie said to me, it's frantic in there. Everything's going on. You want to make sure that you've got 100 out of 100 things right. You can just feel the tension inside the cockpit, because there's no question that these two cars are matched for speed. Driver ability is pretty much neck and neck, of course. They've got the hunger. They're tied on points, 126. We've got a green flag. That means in 5 seconds the lights will go out and the race will be on. Ambrose and Scaife at the front row of the grid. Tander and Bright between them. It is neck and neck for the first 10, 20, 50 metres. Down to turn 1. Crunch time. Ambrose is holding on. Scaife is stuck out on the right. Bright goes really wide. And Ambrose shoots through.
Tander. Scaife was held up high. He raced Ambrose all the way to the corner, but that became a perfect invitation for Garth Tander, who moves up a spot. Richards is up to 4th as well in car 11, and Kelly's been turned hard into the wall. That will be huge damage to the right-hand side of that car. Very likely to prompt a safety car. Ripped a wheel off the car as well. Heavy contact for Kelly. We hope he's okay.
Big jolt for Todd Kelly. He's okay. He's okay. Well, that was him onto the radio, back to the Holden Racing team, and the marshals are straight there. Big, big, big impact. And a few gingerly steps for Todd Kelly. 7th in race 1, 24th in race 2. And now a shake of the head. Mark Larkham also caught up in that drama. Yellow flags, safety car out onto the circuit.
Let's have a look up the back of the pack here. And what has happened, you can't really actually, it could be that Lowndes and Kelly made contact. But it's so difficult, masked by so many cars. This is the in-car of the start. The race to the first corner. Ambrose outbrakes Scaife a little bit. It puts Scaife just high and wide. It was enough for Tander to come through the inside. There he is, a little kiss of the doors. And then Richards tucks in behind there as well. It's a good start for him. It's going to take a little while for these cars to be cleaned up. This will put them in safety car limp mode for a little while everybody settles down and has a think about it. This is the view from Mark Scaife's car. Little jolt of the car under the gear change, and then there's Marcus. Because he's on the inside line, he's just a bit better positioned at that critical point where they're applying the brakes, and there you see Tander go through to 2nd. Ideally, Mark would have wanted to be further to the left to get the slightly cleaner track. And HRT, the frustrating concern that one of their cars has had a huge accident.
Todd Kelly racing for Kmart was 4th overall last year at Hidden Valley, this time for HRT. He's going to slide considerably down the list. Put in his
look at that.
second best qualifying performance of the year to be.
Look at that damage,
here.
Matthew, just that car there, the whole wheel hub assembly, it's ripped suspension components out, and on the other side of that car is where all the damage is. There's Paul Morris exiting the pit lane. They may have taken the opportunity to continue to do more rectification work. Remember, Paul started from the pit lane. Greg?
Well, Neil, I don't think the clutch settings were quite right. They came in. Paul was having difficulty selecting gears when he was trying to leave pit lane to begin with. They've come in, made a couple of adjustments very quickly and sent him straight back out. Hopefully it's cured.
So, Rusty, that part of the circuit has cost Todd Kelly his day.
The other thing to focus on here, Matthew, is the pit window will open. You can pit under these conditions now, and I believe people will pit.
You can see where they are. It was a little bit further on in 2002, around about where Paul Morris is now, that Todd's brother Rick was caught up in a big-time accident. 2002, 7 cars involved in this. Take a look at this. Rick Kelly is just left there like a pinball. Paul Morris in there, David Bernard was in there, John Faulkner. Bounced around, 7 cars caught up in that a little bit further up the road.
I think what you'll find here, interesting, you'd want to be careful making the decision to come leaping into the pit lane at the moment, because there's big traffic jam potential, and there's people certainly were programmed to come in as soon as the window opened. The danger in this circumstance is you need to have a flexible plan. You need to be able to interact between team manager or crew chief and driver, talk to each other, and as you're cycling in, if there's 400 other blokes in the queue, it's the last place you want to be. This is where you can burn up 5 or 10 extra seconds in that horrible pit lane shuffle. So
that's what caught Russell Ingall out in the second race. He said to me, gee, it was a good idea to come into pit lane when everybody else was in there. It just, like you say, completely and utterly put him behind the 8 ball that he was already sitting behind. So Paul Morris, who started from pit lane, is back in there again.
See, people are starting to roll up. They've got gear out.
They're just quite incredible, these races. Don't really know what Paul Morris has just done. I don't think he stopped. He's just gone straight through there.
Yeah.
So he started from pit lane, Neil. He's gone out. There's been a big-time accident on the first lap.
What they're trying to manage here is they don't want to go a lap down. So, and they might make some advantage in this circumstance, depending on what the issue is. They've obviously they've done a very quick installation of an engine and gearbox, and that doesn't allow for finite adjustment. Look at this. That's a nightmare for some of these guys. Not the first few, but when you're back in that pack there, this will turn into chaos. Let's have a look at, soak all this up. The boys are on the spot.
This is bedlam down here, guys. I can't begin to tell you, both Kmart cars have come in. They're all line astern. Cameron McConville, we're with at the moment. The Lansvale team have 2 green tyres up their sleeve, which they're going to stick down the right-hand side of Cameron McConville's car. What happened? He had a fire in the airbox during qualifying, got very little laps in, and they've saved some green tyres, but it is full on down here in pit lane at the moment.
What's happened? We've got Murphy has come out a great beneficiary of that stop. Darryl?
Yes, Neil, the one who lost out, and that was Mark Scape. He got dropped off the Jackson with that new rule where they have to let the cars going through go first. He lost 2 spots. He got jumped, by the looks of it, by a couple of cars.
And just to clarify that, for those that missed the earlier race, there's been a little bit of conjecture and confusion up and down the pit lane, really, about how to handle it. When the car controller releases a car that's been serviced, there is an onus on the car controller to make sure that he does it safely. The problem is we had some cars in Perth that were paralleling each other all the way down the lane. So the rule is, the interpretation that's being enforced from this weekend is that cars in the fast lane have right of way. So if you've been released and you're about to depart your pit box, you must yield to the cars, in this case on your left, coming through.
A quick head count coming out of pit lane. There was around about 23, 24 cars came in and used that opportunity to pit under safety car conditions. We'll have a restart when we come back to the top end on your home of motorsport. They just look so menacing when they're out on the track, but almost 1.5 tons of a mangled mess makes Todd Kelly's car just look like a toy car at the moment. It's heading back. HRT now has a one-man assault for this race. Understand the lights have gone out. Yes, they have on the safety car. There's only one man now who hasn't completed his pit stop while we're in the break. The other guys all started to dive in, but Dean Canto in car 66 hasn't. So he is the leader on the road, but corrected leaders are all lined up behind him. Marcus Ambrose, Greg Murphy was a big winner in that pit lane shuffle. He's now second, and he started 5th. Garth Tander was a bit of a loser. He dropped back down to 6th position on corrected. And remember, he started 3rd, and the dramas just continue for Paul Morris, who's making his 70th career start here this weekend.
Canto finally cycles through this compulsory pit stop, he's going to be absolutely at the tail of the train, so pretty disastrous for him. With the whole field corked up behind him, so green flag, we're racing again.
Another restart. Over 1 kilometre long, this main straight. Something went flying off, a little bit of debris off to the right-hand side of the track. Oh, nervous energy. So much of it taking around turn 1. The blue chips on your PlayStation 2 race course show that they've all pitted except Canto.
Scaife made a good move there and snuck up the inside. Oh, look at this. Murphy looking for space. Canto getting assaulted. An awkward spot here for Dean Canto, and Murphy decides, after what he learnt from the earlier race, not to have himself out hung wide there. So he dropped back in behind to make sure he covered the inside line. Remember, it was Tander that passed Murphy in that earlier race when Murphy was hanging out wide there.
Garth Tander's done a bit of muscling in throughout the afternoon. Muscled in on Murphy in race 2 and muscled in on Mark Scaife at the start of race 3.
Look at the gap that Ambrose is now making while everybody else is freighted up there behind Canto.
It's a perilous position to be in for Dean Canto. He's stuck right in the middle.
Murphy positions to get to the inside, and I think he's made it stick, yes. So that releases Murphy. And it's Bright, and then Scaife.
Then Tander, then Richards, Simon Wills. There's Jason Bargwanna going through, Cameron McConville. Somebody going wide. Oh, that's one of the Kmart cars, so that'd be young Rick Kelly. And he, oh, there's big panel damage on one of the Orcon cars, and Rick joins his brother Todd as a spectator.
At least he's got all 4 wheels on his car at the conclusion of that, and more aggravation here up at turn 4. And this is Mark Noski, and I think it's Paul Wheel in the Team Brock car.
I just wonder how much debris was left on the track when Rick Kelly got tangled up in his incident. Something fairly substantial fell off one of the cars. A 1:11.2 on lap 7 for Marcus Ambrose, but this will be the real one to have a crack at because he's got clean road.
9.9 for Ambrose. He made 2 tenths on Murphy that lap, 10.1. Here comes Scaife looking at the inside of Bright. And as you pointed out quite correctly before there, Matthew, the Tander was the one that after starting from position 3 and getting a pretty reasonable start was obviously dropped time in that pit stop.
They're the adjusted points after race 2. Jason Bright still leads the championships. Stephen Richards is still second. Marcus Ambrose is in 3rd position. So not much of a change. Quite extraordinary to think that the championship lead is being held by a man who's yet to win a race or around this season. I think somebody crunched a few numbers and put last year's point system into play for this year and had Marcus Ambrose about 120 points ahead. But the point spread is much tighter for 2003. Big dip there as they come down to turn 10 as we take a look at Mark Scaife in position 4. In front of him is ex-teammate Jason Bright.
9.8 that time for Ambrose, so he's still enjoying margin. 10 flat for Murphy, 10 flat for Bright, 10 flat for Scaife.
Just an extraordinary set of circumstances for all of these races. It just seems, even like the qualifying session, Neil, the first 4 or 5 laps, sometimes the first 2 laps, it's just a massive brain explosion out there. Everything happens, everyone goes crazy, there's offs, crashes, and they settle down after a few restarts.
Bargwanna was the other car that was involved in that incident with Rick Kelly.
And I thought I saw something substantial come off his car. It did. The right rear door is completely missing.
Wow. I don't know that that's in the homologated aero package. Might be an improvement for the AU.
Certainly be cooler. 19th in the championship for Bargs. Now he's got a pretty well bashed up. Look at that. Open slather.
It's a pretty amazing scene, isn't it? You don't see that too often. Good idea of what the roll cage looks like inside the V8 Supercar. But he's actually performing very well. He's in amongst it there at the moment, but he's in position 11. Black flag has been issued to Paul Radisich, car number 65.
He'll have to do a drive-through pit lane for a jump start, Neil. Isn't that just a crazy sight?
Look at this, 9.8. Last lap again for Ambrose. The margin is Christmas for him. That's what he needs, his own air. You heard Mark Scaife talk earlier about the fact that you tend to be easier on your rubber and on your car when you're in the lead. You've got clean air, you work to your own rhythm, you're not being fumbled by anybody, you're not in anybody else's hot air. And good news for Ambrose, that margin, 1.2 seconds. Here's Tander. Frustrated that he finds himself now battling in position 6. I said before they had to change the box in this car. They didn't touch anything in terms of the suspension setup. The car looked very strong in that previous race. He was able to make effective passes and looked after its tyres.
Take a drink.
The other guy that's come into contention a bit, you wouldn't have considered this yesterday, Matthew, was Russell Ingall, who's moved up to 14th. And they're shuffling their cleanest dirty shirts when it comes to tyre management after losing 4 tyres yesterday. And for him to be up there in that position is a pretty fair effort as well.
Marcus Ambrose has the fastest time at 109.58. He also holds the race lap record as Stephen Richards shoots on by. The lap record stands from 2001 at 109.027. Set by Marcus.
So Canto's yet to stop. Just been passed by Richards. Simon Wills is in there as well. Remember that Canto is in position. He's in 6th at the moment. If you had to freeze the race at this particular point, that's what position he's in. Greg?
Neil, Paul Radisich has just come through pit lane to serve that drive-through. It's cost him an enormous amount of track position. He rejoined at the rear of the field. Just to clarify, the officials in pit lane say it is for a false or jump start at the beginning of the race, not for overlapping on the restart after the safety car.
2 Top Dog awards for Paul Radisich for 2003, a 5th and an 8th in races 1 and 2, and it's bumped him, well, 2 more spots up the championship ladder. He came here this weekend 9th on the table. He's now 7th. Greg Murphy is in 2nd position in the race. 1.5 seconds behind Marcus Ambrose. Jason Bright is 3rd. And Scaife right on his tail in 4th.
Fastest lap so far recorded by Marcus Ambrose at 9.5. His margin's out to 1.5 seconds. Scaife and Bright are arguing over 3rd position. Ambrose, Murphy, Bright, Scaife, Tander, Richards, Canto, Simon Wills, John Bowe in 9th. Then Jason Bargwanna in the top 10 with the door missing from that car. Then Ellery, McConville, Ingall, Ritter, Brad Jones, Jamie Whincup. And when you consider the state of his car in that last event, he's up and amongst it.
Both of these men have 2 pole positions here at Hidden Valley. Bright got the first one in '98 as a Ford driver and was the defending pole sitter until Scaife took it back just yesterday. And on the overall win tally, Scaife has 2 overall round victories here at the Valley, and Jason Bright the one back in 1999. And as I pointed out, out earlier, nobody has actually translated pole position into an overall round victory. And if this race continues to go the way it is, Marcos Ambrose will ensure that that record stays clear, because he's in first position, coming towards the halfway mark of the third and final race. And he's got that history on his mind. We've been talking about it. He knows about it. Alan Moffat, he wants to join him. Come back right after this. So tight, so close. The battle for third position. Mark Skaif is so close to Jason Bright, he can feel that third position. Battle's been raging while we've been in the break. Up to turn 4.
Skaif's got a little bit more strength late in the stop, and certainly in the early part of the turn-in. Has a look up the inside at the valley and sneaks it in there. At the end of the day, Bright just yielded at the critical moment. Skaif to third.
Bright back to 4th. And you can just see there the HRT Mobile starting to pull away. This man is in second position, Greg Murphy. 2.1 seconds behind, that's what it looks like. 2 seconds between him and the blue car in front. PlayStation 2 race score can recap it for you. Murphy's made up 3 spots since the start. That's actually a back marker in the way there, so 2 seconds is even further than what we thought. Good move from Russell Ingall. He's up 7 positions to be inside the top 10.
Yeah, that's a fair comeback, isn't it?
So they're sort of stringing the field out here now, and Marcos Ambrose is the man responsible for it, because he's just pulling it further and further away. 2.2 seconds is the gap between first and second. Skaif is a couple of seconds behind Greg Murphy. And then Bright and Tander make up the top 5.
I think Tander's marched up ahead of Bright now as well, just looking at that.
So that's a couple of positions that Jason Bright has surrendered in the space of the last couple of laps. Let's get down to Greg Rust in pit lane. Greg?
Well, Matthew, you were talking about Garth Tander here. It's been a bit of an expensive day as far as the Gary Rogers team is concerned for his teammate, Jamie Whincup. Those of you that followed our coverage of the last race, have a look at this. Jamie had quite a big shunt with the tyre wall. This is the steering rack that came off car 33. You can see the damage on it. It's actually bent this end of the steering rack and broken the tyre rod end in the process. The expense bill keeps going. We go to the upright here. You can see the way the shock absorber is just broken completely away from it. And of course, all of this doesn't take into account panel work and man hours that have been required to fix car 33. They got him out there, but there's a fair bit of work being done by the boys.
Let's see Paul Dumbrell parked on the side there, Rusty. And the rust bucket is starting to get a little bit fuller and fuller. There's a spare door somewhere around there, Rusty, that Jason Barkwan is looking for if you want to throw that in the bucket as well.
Car.
Safety car, because Paul Dumbrell's race is over. He's over the tyre wall. And some fairly intense damage to the front right. So the Audi safety car has been called upon once again on lap 20.
It's a get out of jail card for Mark Skaif. And, you know, Marcus got a terrific break there when Canto was mixed up in that pack. What's happened here? Look. Oh, I can tell you what's happened here. He's run into the back of somebody, damaged the radiator, and it's fried itself. And what you're seeing there now is the end result of engine running with no water, or certainly pretty darn hot. So he's ended up in the back of someone that's done pretty substantial damage around the front of the car.
I don't know if that's a smile or a grimace, or maybe a...
It's definitely not a smile.
Maybe a mixture of the two. Paul Dumbrell is getting a very steep learning curve in the world of V8 supercars. Last year's Konica champion. This is the first time that he's raced here at Darwin. And Larry Perkins is doing everything he can to introduce him to the big bad world, even to the point of confiscating his mobile phone because it was becoming such a nuisance, apparently. Paul Morris is... That's Craig Baird in the Team Kiwi entry. He's in. We might take a break. Under safety car conditions means we're going to have another restart yet again. We'll come back to Hidden Valley. Marcos Ambrose had a 2.2 second gap on second place before that incident with Paul Dumbrell brought the safety car out. Now the difference is so minimal. We'll see it all when they head to turn 1 for the restart. We'll come back to Darwin on your home of motorsport. A long, hot afternoon is ready to come to an end. With 11 laps left, the lights are out on the Audi safety car, and that means we'll have a rolling restart ready to go. 35 degrees outside. The average cabin temperature about 46, but Neil, when you are charging full tilt and all of a sudden you start slowing down at 80 k's an hour, things starting to cook even worse for a while there, wouldn't they?
Well, several things happen. The heat soaked back through the floor from the pipes, and everything under the car is just horrendous, and you've got time to think about it, which is even a bigger problem. So this will be interesting. It's now bunched the field back up. The safety car lights are out. He'll peel off, which he's done. The Audi goes into the pit lane. Ambrose is away. The first three are all in sync with each other. They actually pulled a little gap there because Tander can't pass until he gets alongside that start-finish line area. Pass, I mean, by actually coming up alongside Noski.
No change at the top of the field. Ambrose, Murphy and Scaife go through cleanly. Tander in 4th position. Almost impact there for Stephen Richards. He had to take evasive action to the left-hand side of the track. Look at Jamie Whincup. He's moved up 17 positions. Not bad effort for a car that was completely and utterly shattered at the end of race 2.
Always looking at the back of that pack there, there was chaos on the way into turn 4. Lots of people with rear brakes locked.
Single file around the horseshoe that is turn 5. Good time to take a little bit of a lock-up for Greg Murphy. You'll know that Scaife is ready to pounce. Check out the order of appearance as they come across the control line after the first flying lap. It doesn't look as though too many people have shuffled around, certainly not in the top 3. Over they go. Ambrose, 1:11.26.
Jason Richards was shuffling down the order there. He was one of the reasons why there were people ducking and weaving at the back of the pack. And someone's actually right across on the full dirty side of the road there. This is Whincup and Lowndes side by side into one. One of the shell cars in there as well. I think it's Max.
There was contact there too. Contact on the way down, contact on the way out between Lowndes and Jamie Whincup. In the end, Whincup gives up that position. So that's the battle for 15th and 16th. Garth Tander has received a drive-through penalty for overtaking before the control line. So exactly what you were talking about, Cromley.
Yeah, I could sort of, it was difficult from the angle that we had of that, but it was running through my mind as he did it. I was sort of thinking, no. And it may not even necessarily be for passing. It could be for overlapping. You're not allowed to actually pull out and run alongside at all. But, of course, Tander would have been wanting to get on with it because the 3 lead guys got such a good jump. Car 7, Rodney Forbes, turn around there at the turn 5 hairpin.
It's just the front angle of it. Digs up a little bit more dirt, rejoins the race. This is the fight between Whincup and Craig Lowndes. Now they touch each other there, so that's one.
You see Jamie's gone to the inside to cover, and then Craig's then just jammed it up the inside, grabbed the gas pedal, got track position back from him, and
got him again. In terms of the championship, David Bernard's day appears to be over.
He was short-changed a bit in the first stop there. Yeah, he got it going again. That's a bit weird. And he actually had to sit and wait in that round of pit stops. And there was a bit of a kerfuffle on the radio about track position and priority there. He's well down the order at the moment, and obviously the problem where you've got a car that starts and stops for whatever reason, you've got an even bigger problem.
Remember, FPR have got 3 cars running out there. Here's Russell Ingall. Just a quick word on the championship. If they finish in this order, Jason Bright will still lead the championship after round 6. Stephen Richards will still be second. And even if Marcus Ambrose wins here, which will make it 4 straight wins out of 6, he'll be 3rd on the championship ladder. Leaves you scratching your head. The championship point score. Another incident down here at turn 4. Greg Ritter, the 00 car, spun around and nothing too too major to speak of. Let's get down to pit lane. Darryl Beattie.
I'm Danny with Todd Kelly. Todd, any inlight into what happened with that incident earlier with you?
No, I didn't see any of it. I was just, you know, first corner, trying to stay out of trouble for the long race ahead. And all I remember was coming out of turn 1, you know, the car was in a straight line, and somebody just hit me and put me straight into the wall.
How are you as far as your body goes? It was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it hooked up into the wall pretty hard and spun the car, which gave my neck a bit of a tweak, but the car's torn up pretty bad, so the guys are going to be fairly busy trying to get it back on the track for next weekend.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's hard to get a full understanding of what occurred there. There were several cars in close proximity. I've got a feeling that the Dumbrell car was in there, and I think the Lowndes car was in there as well, and obviously the stewards will take a look at that at the conclusion of the race and just see whether they can unravel what may have occurred. But he shot out of the pack, and as he just described, it just whacked the wall, something fierce, and has ripped that car up. So there's going to be a lot of work down at Clayton for this race team, the Holden racing team. Scapes threatening now. That's looking backwards from Greg Murphy's car. And Tander serving his drive-through penalty for either passing before the control line or overlapping. And Garth's clearly unhappy about it, and it's a situation that gets talked about a lot in the drivers' briefings, where a driver is a lap down, you know, hustling them along to make sure they stay in the train. All these cars have got 620 odd, 30 odd horsepower. There's no reason at all why they can't all be line astern, but for some reason there always seems to be an issue where there's lap traffic. You'll get some lag, and the drivers that are on the lead lap and fighting for position get extremely frustrated. And clearly what's happened is that Tander has tried to hustle it on. Oh, Richards. Well, that's not pretty.
That was pretty high-speed impact. Jason Richards nose to tail at turn 1.
And he got, was it Canto? I didn't actually have, it wasn't fully focused on the better electrical car. I was looking at Richards. Whoa, look at the turn in speed that Scapes got. It was like this when he was making his way back early as well. He just had great speed when he was chasing Jason Bright in that particular zone. His stopping power late in the stop, and his turn in speed in sort of this zone here was very good in a couple of places where you need to carry speed on the way in. He's strong on the approach to turn 1. It looks like he's pretty strong up at the complex at 8, 9, 10 as well. Remember that everybody's well and truly used all their tyres this weekend, so they've put on whatever combo they've got in this second part of the race after the tyre stop. The tyres are now pretty hot and mushy, 31 and 35 laps. They've got a lot to fight with.
Join the boys tonight for Formula 1 after the movie on 10, Nürburgring in Germany, round 9. Kimi Räikkönen has pole position. Billy and Neil staying up late to bring you that one.
See Scapey just searching for air there. Huge temperature rise in these cars if you stay tucked under the rear wing of another car, a place where the ambient temperature is high. Darryl?
Paul, can you give us any idea what happened with the car there?
Yeah, on one of the restarts there, so a bit of a concertina effect at the back of the pack, and unfortunately I got hit up the rear and up the front, so the car's just running a little bit hot, and unfortunately we've had to call it a day.
You've had a bit of a Biff and Badge weekend.
Yeah, it's been, for the last couple of races, it's been a little bit disappointing, but you know, the car had a lot of speed this weekend, which is the most disappointing thing, but you know, in Queensland in a couple of weeks we'll bounce back and hopefully have a good showing.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Well, Gary Rogers, you've had a chance to look at the vision of the restart. Give us your take on it, and was Garth in the wrong, do you think?
To be quite frank, Greg, I haven't seen it, but my boys say that he did get to within perhaps what could be deemed as in the wrong. But look, the fact of the matter is the car was a lap or two down. The bloke wasn't even in the race. The people have come to see a race. I mean, something has to be done about these people, the rules. It's not right. You know, we'll cop it and we'll move on. But, I mean, something does have to be done because people out there have paid their money, and it really makes a sham of the whole thing.
Geez, while Gary Rogers was talking, Craig Lowndes almost leapt through our TV screens. You're watching the rear here of, must be Jamie Wincup's car. No, it couldn't be.
It's Stephen Johnson looking backwards from Stevie, and Lowndes has got pace in some areas, so CL's kind of monstering him at the moment, but he's struggling in a couple of others. And they're all in a pretty angry pack here. balance. He's real quick here. It's a little bit like Mark Scaife. He's got pace right in this particular zone in turn one. Maybe not quite getting off the corners quite as well. Certainly Stephen was a little bit stronger coming onto the front straight.
Craig Lowndes won the first ever race held here in 1998, but overall in the rounds he hasn't finished better than 7th. A little bit of a bogey track for Craig Lowndes. Here's Cameron McConville having a fight with the three-door mobile of Jason Bargwanna.
Brad Jones with the front left squealing a little bit on the way into 5. Looks like he's got reasonable car pace here. He set the 5th quickest time in the race earlier today in race 2. And, but the problem is it's not much good if you can't use it. That's where qualifying is so good, and that's why in particular Marcus and Mark Scaife have been enjoying such strength in recent weekends, because they're qualifying well and racing in clean air. Isn't that just a bizarre sight?
At 10 to 15 kilograms lighter.
Well, it'd be a fair old whack. I've never weighed a right rear door on a Falcon. I don't know, but it'd be a few.
Mate, if you want to,
around for long.
There's one over at about turn 2 if you want to go for a wander. Just come back before the end of the race. You've got about two laps to go.
You'd be pretty stiff if you got nailed in post-race scrutineering for being underweight because your door was missing. But I guess things like that do happen from time to time. You just go and sort of gather it up and stand there and hold it.
Battle between Murphy and Scaife on the top of your screen. Whee! Stephen Johnson so close.
See the amount of garbage on that screen, and the white has been walking around on it as well. Look at this. Windcup's going to get up the inside of Lowndes. Oh, there's Biffo here. And Windcup makes a pass. Actually, Craig ended up a little worse for wear here. And speaking of worse for wear, Brad's rear bumper assembly and rear guard now touching that tyre. Only a few laps to go, so in fact, final lap, so you wouldn't do anything about it now. You let it smoke its head off.
And out in front, Marcus Ambrose. What a performance. The final lap of this race as Brad Jones is going to lumber on home in car 21 with smoke pouring from the rear. Cameron McConville is still determined to fight Jason Bargwanna for 10th position. Bargs is holding on to a top 10er. Probably the first three-door car to ever finish top 10.
Pretty good performance from Bargwanna, in fact, because he started off the back in yesterday's first race. So,
oh, speaking of, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Jason Bargwanna holding on to a top 10 finish and finds himself on the grass. Ambrose goes through. Greg Murphy is there, and Mark Scaife, for the first time in 5 years, won't have won a round in 5 rounds. But Mark Scaife, Marcus Ambrose, comes across the finish line and collects what is an historic victory. 4 out of 4, the first man for Ford in 26 years. To do that, Falcon Power is... full bore. So Mark Scaife will finish 2nd overall. He finished race 3 3rd. And Marcus Ambrose joins Alan Moffat as a Ford driver to win 4 straight rounds of the championship. Moffat won 4 in 73 and 5 in 1977. Man, this guy is hot.
Yeah, he's just done a fantastic job. He's really in sync with his team. He's car confident. His car's working beautifully. They're setting it up well. When it isn't right, they know what to adjust, when and by how much, which is always particularly important and impressive. It's just a tremendous job from the Stone brothers.
The numbers are starting to add up on Marcus Ambrose's side. He is a genuine championship threat, a genuine V8 superstar, no question. These are the results from race 3, Shell Helix race score, as Ambrose, Murphy and Scaife on the podium. But after the break, we'll put it all in championship perspective once again, tell you who finished the round overall in what order. You know that Marcus Ambrose has won it. We'll come back and piece it all together after yet another eventful round here in the top end. And Mark Scaife couldn't do it. The pole to winner bogey stays here at Hidden Valley. It's Marcus Ambrose's day yet again. We'll take a break and come back.
Well, welcome back to Hidden Valley on an historic day for Ford fans. Not since 1977 has a Ford driver won 4 straight. Marcus Ambrose, you have done it today, and how does that feel?
Yeah, look, it's probably the toughest yet out of the 4 because you just had to work really hard. It's very hot. Scapey and myself were very close in times, and, you know, the start was so critical, and then the pit stops as well. So great job by the boys, and Ken, who's been helping on the starts, you know, we've just changed our fortunes this year, so credit to the team, and what a great result, you know. Let's go for 5 out of 5, now home track.
We always talk about the searing heat here in Darwin. How taxing was it on you personally today?
It's easier out in front, I've got to say. A couple of years ago, I was down the pack, and that was really hard work. But when you know you can drive the car and win it by just looking after the tyres and things, you know, it makes it so much easier.
Roll on, Queensland. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, Rusty.
Mark, it's been a difficult weekend with starts and also that first corner getting hung out high.
Yeah, a little bit, Daryl. I mean, I missed a gear in the second race, probably cost me the weekend, to be honest. I should have been on pole for the last race if you don't do anything silly. And you know, the last start was a good start between the two of us again. We were absolutely alongside each other, but I couldn't get across to the inside. So then, as you said, you know, you get hung wide, you take the long tour, and you never go any good on the long tour, do you? Especially when Garth or one of the good guys are on the inside.
We are going to see the new car at the next round?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll roll it out there, and I mean, you know, I think this is really encouraging. I mean, the car, whatever we've sort of been able to have a finish, and you know, the bounce of the ball probably hasn't really gone our way so far. But when we, you know, when we finally get the other one out, we'll be up there somewhere.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, that round victory has eluded you so far, but boy, good points again.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the priority when we're not in a position to win it like we aren't this weekend, and, you know, the testing's really starting to hurt us now. I mean, you know, late in the race, we just haven't got the tyres that all 3 guys have got in front of us at the moment, so, you know, we need to get out testing, and hopefully that, you know, testing ban will be lifted soon and we can go out and try and catch these guys.
Great weekend, Jace. Well done.
Thanks, Greg.
Rusty mentioned another good points haul for Jason. 76 points for Bridie for finishing 3rd today. That's the top 10 overall for round 6 here at Hidden Valley. Ambrose, Scape and Bright the podium. Greg Murphy holding on to 4th. Stephen Richards holding on to 5th, and another top 10 performance for Paul Wheel. As far as the championship is slated after 6 rounds, well, nothing has really changed. Jason Bright maintains that championship lead. Stephen Richards holds on to 2nd, and Marcus Ambrose, despite winning 4 straight now, is still in 3rd position. But what about Mr. Consistency, Stephen Richards? He just refuses to let go of that 2nd position. He's with Neil Crompton.
Well, he scored 158 points today, and I think Stephen Richards is a bit of a get-out-of-jail card that you played. You qualified 16th, but you raced very effectively as usual. I think it was a 9th, a 6th and a 5th. You'd be pleased with that.
No, very happy, very happy. We're still trying to unlock the secrets of the VY, but look, we're battling a bit, I must admit, in the races, but obviously good enough for 5th place. So, yeah, the team are very happy.
Stevie, you obviously had a good test or a couple of good tests with that car, and you felt as though you had a good understanding of it. You had 2 great practice sessions here, and we thought you were going to be amongst it. Then come qualifying was a bit of a horror story. Why was that, and what was the specific issue?
Oh, mate, really not quite sure. We basically put the new tyres on. The track temperature had risen a bit, and absolutely totally expected to do a mid-8 and didn't, and went a little bit slower. So I'm not sure. We had a little bit of a problem we recognised with the front of the car, and that's really been consistent the whole weekend, and that's stopped us gaining a bit of mid-corner speed, and that's having a massive effect on our genuine lap speed. So we need to work on that.
And with the car being a bit of a handful, how was fitness and what was the temperature like?
The fitness was all right, but it was bloody hard work. I mean, when the car's nice to drive, you really do it quite easy, as you know. But when it's a handful, mate, oh, mate, I was glad to see the checkered flag.
Thanks for that, mate. We look forward to seeing you in Queensland. Good job.
Thanks a lot.
Stephen Richards, who unveiled a new VY. Remember, Scape will unveil his, but this man, well, he just continues to celebrate. The trophy collection is just getting plentiful by the minute, isn't it, for Marcus Ambrose, and the champagne collection is getting even better as well. So 4 on the trot now for Marcus Ambrose. He is hot to go, isn't he? Let's check out what's ahead on your home of motorsport. Formula One tonight after the movie. Join Billy and Neil Crompton with Kimi Räikkönen on pole in Nürburgring
That is coming up later tonight, round 9 of the Formula One Grand Prix. Now, we'll show a replay of the 250cc's in the MotoGP category, of course, with Ant West winning, so we want to see that again. That will follow your Formula One, and the next time you'll see the V8 Supercar circuit will be at the Queensland Raceway here at Darwin. It belongs to Marcus Ambrose yet again. We'll see you next time on your home in motorsport.
That is one of the worst, if not the worst, steward's decision I have ever seen.
Right, and Ambrose, what is going on here?
Slammed again.
There's been some crazy stuff. Now there's
Turn forward again. Oh, they hold on to it.
gone in sideways.
Flip it over.